God. Hold on, let me take care of these guys quick. Okay. Anyways, hi there. Hope you're doing well today, and welcome back to Valheim. This is episode 14, and today is going to be a big building day. Last episode I got iron, which means I can now build with stone, so I'm going to be upgrading the entire Firereach area a bit. But before I get to building today, I need to go to sleep, because it's dark and scary and evil outside. Okay, I'm just standing in my bed, I guess. Day 111. It's raining out, which is unfortunate, but we can make do. Oh, in between episodes, I did, of course, smelt down all of my iron. As I said earlier, I want to start stonifying a lot of Firereach here, and I think the best way to do that would be to start from a solid central foundation and build out from there. Which this is probably a good time to kind of run through the plans I have for this area. So the main centerpiece of this whole area is going to be this oak tree. And around the tree, I want to have a sort of town square, I guess, where maybe some farmers markets or pop-up vendors and stalls could be. And then we will extend outward from there. The weather cleared up. This will make my job a lot easier. So the first thing I'll need to do is flatten out an area around this tree here. Let's see, how low do I want to go? Maybe right here? Yeah, that's good. Alright, let me flatten this out quick. There we go. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to place myself in a little workbench and a stone cutter. This is the first stone cutter. Oh, I forgot about the hearth. I need to build that. Locking all the stone pieces. Very cool. And paved road. That's the one I really want. Okay, now that the workbenches are in and I've got a pretty big area to work with, I can start putting in the paving here. And because I want to make sure that this is perfectly aligned, I'm going to put in some little markers and just try to get an equal distance from around this tree. That is not even. Took a little trial and error, but I think that looks really nice. That's so cool. Okay, now from here, I can start placing in the paved road. Oh, that paved road looks so nice, man. That is beautiful. Now the question is, how far out from here do I want to extend this area? And I think 4 is actually a pretty good size here. Like I said, I want enough room to put in some market stalls and stuff like that, so I think this will be plenty of space. Now I just need to figure out how to turn this into a circle. This could be a little tricky. Okay, you know what? That could work. These are intersecting just the tiniest bit, but it's not causing any weird, like, Z-buffer errors. And looks really nice. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I honestly think that's the best I'm going to come up with. I just need to complete this circle now around the rest of the edges. And after a little slumber, here is the completed circle. I think this looks super, super cool. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I did also end up raising this ground just the tiniest bit so that this is sticking about halfway out of the ground. I think it just looks a whole lot nicer than having the whole pole stick up out of the ground. Now that this is done, I want to kind of start branching out a bit and maybe connecting up a lot of these buildings to the town square. And the way that I imagined this when I first thought of this idea was going with a sort of layered approach. So for example, this here would be the base layer, and then maybe I could build some stairs up to the next layer, which would be up here. Then I can make more stairs leading up to the layer with the foundry and the inn. So I'm just going to mess around with that idea a little bit. I think this will be pretty trial and error-y as well, but I'm just going to branch off in this direction and see where it takes me. And from here, I'll extend this out a little bit. And then I'm thinking right here would be a good place to move up to the next layer. Alright, I just flattened out this area up here a bit more, so I have a very apparent and clear line that I need to build towards. Okay, I think I'm really liking this so far. The biggest problem with this idea is finding the boundaries between each layer. What I mean by that is, should the wall for the boundary be right up against this area, or should it be kind of connected to here, like that? And that's a tricky question to answer when you don't have it all built in. You know, I think I actually like the idea of, instead of a flat wall here, going with more of a slope like this. I think that should help it look a little more natural. But for right now, I think the best way to continue on doing this is to finish an area, then move on to the next. So right now, I'm just going to connect the foundry up to this pathway. Then I'll connect it up to the inn and up to my house. So this is what I've got going on right now. I continued this wall a bit. I'm contemplating whether to raise it up again with the stone or just put in wooden railings on this. I'll have to do more thinking on that. Another thing I'll have to think about is how to fill in these gaps around the wall and the ground, but we will do that in the detailing phase of this whole section. Right now, my main goal is to kind of put in the rough draft of how I want this entire area to look. Then once it's all in, I'll start working on the finer details. But I think I really like how this area turned out, so I'm going to continue this path over towards the inn now. So that's what I did. I continued this path a little bit, and I fear I may have cooked. I think this could change a little bit later, but here's what I've got going on so far. I really like the two paths leading up to the inn. It feels a bit more natural, and it also just looks super cool. I'm really happy with how this came out. This all surprisingly connected up very well, with the only real little discrepancy being this corner here. But apart from that, everything is lined up and connected to the grid, and there's one thing you gotta know about me is that I live and die by the grid. Well, maybe live or die is a bit too extreme because I'm just gonna let this slide. Next, I want to make one more connection to level 2 from down at the base level here. I think I'm gonna put the stairs somewhere over here. And I think that'll do it. There's a little piece here that's a bit off-grid, but that's honestly expected with all of the turns I have, especially up here. So I'm kind of fine with just leaving it there. Next up, I'm going to jump over to the other side here and try to connect this up to my house. I haven't really thought too much about how to do this, but I'm sure it'll be very similar to what I've got going on over here. So I guess I'll just start flattening out from here and see where it takes me. It is once again getting too dark for this. Let me go to sleep. Oh, cool. It's Master Chief Day. Okay, so it's been a little bit and I've tried a few things out, but I honestly don't really think I like any of what I did here. I think I can work on something similar to what I've got going up here leading to my house, but I was trying some things over here and I ended up really not liking any of it. So I'm just going to leave this area as it is for now and I'll fix it later. And what I want to change about this area is instead of connecting it to this path on this level here, I think I want to connect it to up here. I'll have to refill in a little bit of the hill that I took out here, but that's fine. So as I said, I want to connect this layer up to my house instead of the one below. And I think the best way to do this is by making a curved wall here, and then building a little staircase up to the front of my house. What is this? What? That's cool. Anyways, now I'm going to mark out the shape of this wall, and then I'll work on flattening out this area up here after. Yeah, I think I'm liking this a lot better already. This looks so cool. I decided to put this little wooden ridge across the entire wall, and I think it actually looks super cool. The only real problem with using these wooden beams is when it rains, it greens. That was a really cool rhyme. I know that there are some tricks you can use to stop these things from greening, especially like underneath the sloped beams. I don't think these will start to rot. So as an example, I could do something like this, or actually even something like this, and I don't think anything under here would start rotting. But then that leaves the top exposed. I'll probably come back to this idea a little later once I'm finishing up this place, but I'm going to continue working on this area up here for now. You won't really be able to see any of the bumpiness here once the grass is all in, but I still want to try my best to smooth this out as much as I can. Like, that looks pretty dang good. I'm happy with that. Oh, by the way, in case this wasn't clear, all of this pathened dirt will eventually be turned into the paved stone. I just want to make sure nothing will change before I do all that, because it'd just be a waste of stone otherwise. I think to connect my house to this area, I want to have a small spirally staircase, kind of like what I have over there actually, leading up to the front of my house. Then I'll have another staircase back here leading up to what will eventually be my garden area. I'm going to work on the front first. Something like that feels really nice. And then on the left side of the stairs, there would be a sort of retaining wall leading into the stairs connecting to my garden. I don't know how I managed it, but somehow the levels that I placed each of these structures fits perfectly in the grid. Look at how well those stairs line up with the ground there. It's wild. Complete coincidence. These stairs feel a little bit too far out from my house, so I am just going to push them a little bit closer. And I should still have room to put a stone retaining wall in here and keep this path around my house. I am using up pretty much all of my stone for this. Luckily, I still have a ton over by where I was mining earlier. I'll need to go grab that at some point. For this little gap here, I was originally going to go with the stone floor just because it looks like a nice smooth stone, but I actually like the consistency in texture with this instead, so I'm just going to go with that. Now, one thing I actually want to try to avoid doing a ton of for this area is deforming the natural terrain too much. I kind of want to work with it as opposed to completely transform it, which is actually something that I did wrong over here. I think I dug out too much of the natural ground, and I might want to come back and fix this area up a little bit pretty soon. So I'll just try to avoid making that same mistake over here. Like I said, I want to work with the terrain, not completely against it. So after many iterations, this is what I've come up with for this area. I like this a lot because it also acts as a sort of foundation for my house, so that makes a little bit more sense now. I also think using the poles here instead of continuing the wall looks a lot nicer because it keeps most of this natural hill. Overall, I think this is a major improvement over what I had before. I especially really like this big open grass area here. And I actually think I'm going to continue this path here along this hill and back into the town square. But I want to take just a slight break from building paths for a little bit and work on some decorations in the town square here. Or circle, I guess. I think I want this whole area to eventually be filled with shops and maybe some markets. So I want to start putting up some little pop-up market stalls around this side of the circle. I haven't really thought on how to build these exactly, so I'm going to try to freestyle this a little bit. So this is a design that I just came up with, and I think it looks pretty good. It feels maybe just a tiny bit big, but I think once it's contrasted with other buildings and stuff behind it, it will feel a bit more in place. I can always change this later if that's not the case. Oh, another thing I wanted to do for this area was add some gateways around each of these 3 exit points. And I think I'm going to go with pretty much the same design I have over by the farm over there. Just like that. I think that looks really cool. I just gotta put them on the other 2. And there we are. Now that these are up, I feel like maybe a railing could fit really well around this center area, so I'm gonna try that out quickly. You know, I think I do really like that, actually. I'm going to just keep it on this side for now, and just spend a little time with this here and see how I feel about it in a little bit. And back in the town center, I think I want to put another one of these stalls on the other side of the door as well. So here are the two market stalls in place. I decided for this one to go with a more traditional kind of 4-post situation here. I also aligned both of these with the grid. This one is perfectly in the center, and this one's off-center just by 1 meter. I think the different designs and also having them placed a little bit differently should help mix things up a little. Another thing that kind of bugs me just the tiniest bit is this wide feels... what? Another thing that bothers me just the tiniest bit about this area in particular is that this path feels really wide. I think I would like for this to be 2 wide pretty consistently, and as you can see, right now it is 3 wide, which feels really big. So I'm going to spend just a bit of time redoing some of this path here to hopefully make it feel a bit more consistent. Yeah, I think this feels a whole lot closer to kind of what I initially imagined this area looking like. I definitely prefer the thinner paths. It also feels just a bit more congruent with the width of these openings here. Now that this path is all tidied up, I'm actually going to continue work on this path over here. Like I said before, I kind of planned for this to go alongside this hill here and then loop back into the town center. Oh my god. Okay, I am completely out of stone, so I'm gonna have to run over to where I was mining for copper earlier, because I know I have a ton left over there. Let me haul the cart over. What are you doing? Alright, well, that should definitely be enough stone. Good god. Oh, I didn't think about this. Well, this isn't good. I guess that stays there. Alrighty, it has been some time, probably much longer than it needed to be, but I'm really liking the direction I've taken this so far. As you can see, I connected this path up to what will eventually be the marketplace area. I think even with just this little wall in place, it already starts to really tie together the northern part of this whole village. I think it looks really cool. Oh, and this is just a very basic little template for a shop I plan to put here in the future. I think my plan from here is to extend this path up, connect it back up to my house, and also connect it up to the farm. And I would also like to continue it this way to loop back in over by the inn. But I'm going to take another quick break from continuing the path and just work on fancying up what I've already got in place. The first thing I want to do is fancy up all these retaining walls a bit, so I'm going to put in more of these vertical support beams. And to continue this pattern, I'm just going to place them every 2 or 3 tiles apart, or in any corners. Okay, so now every single retaining wall I have has these vertical support beams. And while I was at it, I figured I would fix up this area, and I was right. I think this looks a whole lot better. This helps blend a bit more naturally into what was the terrain before. This just feels so much smoother now. Next up in my fancification of these paths, I want to add fences along the tops of all of these retaining walls. At least the ones that people will be walking on top of. I touched on this just a little bit earlier, but I would love to incorporate these sloped wooden beams into the railing here. And that's because the sloped beams don't rot, so that means that anything under them won't rot. So I'd really like to put these in so I don't have to repair the entire area every single time it rains. So I'm curious, if I did something like this, would these 2 top pieces rot? I guess I'm just gonna really have to wait for rain to test out this theory, so I guess I won't be doing railings right now. But what I can do is maybe try out some different railing designs, and then when it rains I can see which ones work. This design I feel has a lot more potential to actually work than this one does. I just don't know if I like it as much. I feel like with these angled parts here, it looks just a little bit too bulky. It also does stick through the bottom a little bit, but that honestly doesn't really bother me as much. Well, I couldn't really think of any designs other than these 2, so I guess now I just have to wait for rain. Oh, I just went to sleep to pass the time, and it's actually raining now, so that helps me out a lot. Now we just wait to see if these will actually rot. Guess I'll do some more farming while I wait for that. Oh, come on, it's already clearing up. Well, I hope that was enough to rot it. Well, it did not rain long enough to rot anything, so I guess I just have to do some more waiting. And what I'm going to do is actually leave off here for today and just do a bit more material grinding while I wait for more rain. We got a lot done today. I am very happy with how this place is turning out so far, and I'm excited to see how it develops going forward. I have some big plans for this place. I also really learned just how much time building takes, especially when you go into it with little to no plan, so I think I'm going to start actually thinking about my next steps a little more. Speaking of, next episode I'll start out by seeing what I can do about these railings here, then after that I'll hopefully finish up all of the other pathways around here, so I can finally start adding a little more character to Firereach. I also feel like another building is due, so I'll probably start on that next time as well. But until then, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.